Okay, so today we're talking about the balance sheet, and we're using the Monopoly board as a way to wrap our heads around this. And why we're using the Monopoly board, because you and I, like most of the people who have been exposed to this little game, this is something that I started playing probably whenever I was like 6, 5, I don't know. But pretty young, you got to see it at least. Maybe you didn't understand every single way to play the game and you weren't an expert in it, but you at least understood some of the basics. And so in Monopoly, you've got spots on the board where they basically represent pieces of real estate. And the objective of the game is to keep buying real estate and accumulate enough money to where you end up winning the game and nobody else can compete against you. That's a really simple explanation of it. So what does that have to do with the balance sheet? Well, whenever you start to play your game, everybody on the side of the board will have a bunch of little pieces of paper, a bunch of little things that help them play. And so I wanted to talk about those because those represent your balance sheet. So maybe you never thought about it, but you've got, at the beginning of the game, maybe you get some cash, or maybe you accumulate cash over time. And so cash is flowing to you, and we have it over here, and we know that we have $150 worth of cash at this very second. So something may change in the game, and we may lose that $100, but at this very moment, we're taking a snapshot in time, basically, and we know that we've got 150 bucks. And then you also have accumulated some pieces of real estate, boardwalk, park place, and you even have a little house here. And so you have accumulated some things that earn you additional cash flow because you're playing the game right. Okay. So you've got, maybe you didn't think about it this way, but these are your assets. These are here to generate more of this, the cash flow, right? And then you'll have something on the side of your board, and you may not put them together in the style of a balance sheet and group them this way, but this is from the community chest, and it says that you have $40 per house. We haven't paid this yet. We just got it. And so we've got to pay that $40 because we have this one house. And so here in just a minute, once I give this money to the bank, I'm going to get $10 back. And so this little liability, what I owe somebody, and this cash associated with it, they'll both go away. And I'll be left with $10 here. And I'll have a total of $110 after this liability is paid, right? So all of this is what happens on a balance sheet. And so let's just help you to wrap your head around the balance sheet a little bit easier. We're going to do a little exercise. And not calisthenics either. This is the fun accounting type of exercise. I bet you're super excited. Ooh, can't wait. All right. So we talked about how we had some assets. And so I've got our cash. And I'm putting here the cash under this assets category, right? And then I've got our real estate holdings. So we own Boardwalk, we bought it. And then we own Park Place, the land. So we got that. And then we own a house on Park Place. And so we paid $200. You see down here in the card, we paid $200 for that house. So these are all of our assets. We've kind of accounted for everything, right? So that's great because we're going to start to, as part of creating a real balance sheet, we're going to start to break these down. So we know that we got $150 of cash. We've got land, and you can look up at the board and know what the land is worth. And Park Place is worth $350, and Boardwalk is worth $400. So that totals up to be $750. Okay, great. We're going to write that down. And then buildings. So Park Place has this house on it. And you notice that we had to spend $200 on a house. So we're going to put that. That's the only house that we have on the board. So we're going to put that here. All right. So those are our assets. And whenever we do the math, we're going to notice that this adds up to $1,100. Pretty good. We've accumulated a lot. And we only have this one liability. That's great. And since we only have one house, it says that we owe $40 a house because we were assessed for street repairs. And so right now I owe $40. So that's a liability. I'm going to put that right here. And we know that assets have to equal our liabilities and equity. And because we know that we have $1,100 in assets, and we know that we have $40 in liabilities, then we got to basically plug the gap here for equity. If this is 110 or 1,100 bucks, and this is $40, to plug the hole in equity, we just subtract out liabilities from assets, and that gives us $1,060. And voila, we have a balance sheet that balances. So your assets basically equal your capital. This is how you financed your assets. This is where you got the money to get those things. And that's the basis of the balance sheet. You have things that generate money for you in actual cash, and then you have the way that you acquired those assets. Did you get it through equity, or did you get it through some type of liability, which is a liability, something that you owe to somebody else, right? Okay, so that's the balance sheet in a nutshell. And now, if you think about it and you break it down into really tiny bite-sized chunks, you got cash, that's the stuff that you own. You got real estate, you own that. You may have a mortgage on your real estate, and that would, so you would have the value, you'd own the asset, but you would also have a liability that offset it. So that would go in this column. Things like your vendor bills that you're going to pay eventually, that goes in this column. And then the net of it is equity. So there you go. I hope that helps. And see you soon in our next videos.